Thank you, Russian reporter whose name seems to escape me at the moment, for that beautiful report on China. Now, the Cold War era, a time for change. Some may even say, time for revolution, a social revolution. One of the most notable is the hippie, or more formally known as the anti-establishment movement cultivated by Woodstock. This movement has been coupled with the origins of rock and roll. As profound an impact rock and roll had on this social change, it wouldn't have had a chance if it wasn't for the invention of the television. The television forever changed the way media was distributed, as well as propaganda. The television created a way to introduce the population to certain ideas about communism and the Russian government. Examples of this are the hit James Bond movies or the many instructional movies showing civilians how to construct fallout shelters. Another Cold War social change was the women in the workforce. During the Second World War, women entered the workforce while the men were away fighting a war. But after the Second World War and during the Cold War, women were encouraged to go back to their role as the housewife. As for Russia, its society hit a low near the beginning of the Cold War, but due to the funneling of resources to the military, its people suffered. Russia also saw a revival of the Russification, a policy that suppressed minority cultures, languages, and religions in an attempt to homogenize communism. And this just in. The Cold War has ended. It almost seemed impossible, but the standoff between two superpowers is over. After Russia invaded Afghanistan, America took it as the last straw and began to have no sympathy for the USSR. Jimmy Carter and Ronald Reagan, with their extremely anti-communist viewpoints, began to build up even more arms and prepare for a nuclear war. This arms buildup had Russia fearful of an attack and have them prepare their defenses. Even America's closest allies felt America's actions may cause a nuclear war. How could there be an end to the Cold War in sight if tensions between the US and the USSR were as tight as this? Well, it's all thanks to Russian leader Mikhail Gorbachev. His policies of perestroika and glasnost lifted the Iron Curtain that surrounded Europe and brought the Cold War era to a close. He did this by pushing Reagan to agree to an arms reduction and by allowing communist nations to have free and open elections. Although Gorbachev was a significant factor that led to the end of the Cold War, he was not the only influential figure that played a role. Many argue that if Ronald Reagan had not scared the Soviet Union so badly with his arms buildups, Gorbachev may have not attempted to smooth things over with the US. Reagan also helped bring an end to the war by being willing to work with Gorbachev and the Communist Party. Now that the Cold War is over, the Soviet Union is collapsing. The fence between Hungary and Austria has been torn down. The Union movement of solidarity has risen to power in Poland, and the Polish Communist Party is no more. Revolts in East Germany have led to the destruction of the Berlin Wall. Hungary is holding free elections. The communist regime in Czechoslovakia and Romania has been ousted by the people. The Cold War and the Soviet Union are no more. Now, I would love to tell you more news stories and elaborate even more, but we're just out of time, and frankly, I'm too lazy. So, thank you, and have a good night. While capitalists were seen as expansionists, in terms of self-interest, the U.S. sought to increase their influence. I'd cross that out better. Well, if freaking Lee would learn how to write in English, wouldn't have this problem. I swear I'm gonna burn this paper when I'm done with it. Yes, it is. Ideology, self-interest. What were their effects on the Cold War? Screw this project. It's so stupid. Nobody cares about the Cold War. It never happened.
You can do this.
Was it ever a war? Nothing ever happened. Sure, some Vietnamese people died, but who cares? Close. So close.
I was thinking about Chinese chicken. I believed in alien Chinese chicken. Fried rice.
Subordinate to the ambitions of the state. Communism. Lee would just learn how to write. Then I wouldn't have to try and read all the errors that I corrected.